One thing about African storytelling is that the storyteller is a composite performer. And I think that is what Philip was trying to say, that we need to look at the African performer from the context of the African cultural aesthetic work, so to speak. So if you look at the African cinema, maybe thinking about people like Sendene Osmani, you realize that they go back to the African cultural aesthetic nuances to do the performance. If you see the way that the Nigerians did it, it had to connect with the African mythology. It has to relate with the African storytelling traditions. So the African cinematic identity is supposed to express the African identity, so to speak, so that we are asking ourselves that if I'm watching a film like Marooned, and how do I identify it as an African cinema? That has to do with the framing, the way that the story is conceptualized, that Bob Nyanja, Odanda, Philip are conscious that they have an audience that will easily relate with this kind of performance, with this communication, and how it is done. So for me, it has to do with a lot of things: the way the story is conceived, and how it relates to our performance traditions. So if you watch a film, docu film, let me say that, like the ones that are done by Safe Kenya, which speak to the problems in our society, the first thing you realize is that those stories are anchored on narrators. There is a very clear, identifiable narrator who introduces you to that cinema. They begin by telling you that we are going to tell you the story of Elibidi. Elibidi came from the village to the city. And these are the dynamics of the city, and this is how he has to maneuver the city. When you come to Misisi again, the narrator begins by telling us this is a story of this girl, that is Awinja, who is acting on that, and that she's coming from this place because there was post-election violence. And then now they go back to flashbacks, to stream of consciousness, and all that. And Watatu actually, which speaks to the question of radicalization, also says that's the same. And if you are keen, if you are very keen in studying, because my job is to critique more, and you look at Nairobi Half-Life, it is an unusual, very obviously narrated story. So the identity of the African cinema has to do with the way that it speaks to the traditional performance aesthetics. That is how I can define it. And the other obvious is that then we have the characters are Africans, and they come with their own African nuances. If you look at the Nigeria, Kenya is quite different, but now you can see that we are also beginning to relate with our languages here. That initially, if we were acting, we wanted to act like it is done in Holy there. The register, the language, then you become fake. The Nigerians don't care. They just speak their pidgin. But now if you look at our films like what we watched yesterday, you see the watchman, relating. So you can easily relate with that watchman because of his language, even if it's speaking English, if he's speaking Kiswahili, or is doing share. And I think for me that is what we need. If you look at the South African films like Solsti and all that, you will easily identify this as a South African film, is done in this place, even without picking a person on occasion. So there are all those kind of nuances that make us say this is an African cinema. Thank you.